Oh, nice to see you, and you're sponsoring Leona's. You know, I'm going to go down and talk to Maria then, because at the symphony, because my family gave the lobby original, my Uncle Charles, and they took the plaque down, put up another plaque. The plaque was this big, and they never put it back. And I think they should. And I'm going to go down and talk to her. Maybe you should talk to her. Will you talk to her? About
I've given sensible donations to them, not that that's been
it should matter. I would say something.
But don't you have a contract with jobs tonight?
No, I'm not singing this song. No, I'm going to sing next with the stupid Christmas person. I'm going to go tomorrow night. I love it too. I'm going to go and be in the audience. Diane.
Oh, it's cozy in here. Wow. Hello. All right. Just find a spot where you're comfortable. I'm so glad we are here together in this December Shabbat. This Shabbat that is just before Hanukkah begins on Sunday night at sunset. Lighting candles. I'm going to try to refrain from telling, because I feel like I tell this story 50 times during the Hanukkah season of that amazing Hanukkah, that Hanukkah menorah with the eagle on top. You all see that one in the middle? There's a great story, but you've all probably heard it 50 times. I hear a request. Second, what? There was a motion on the floor? All right, we'll see. We'll see how I'm feeling. Spoiler alert, you've heard it before. But it is a good story. Anyway, and actually there's a twist. There's an addendum to the story. So maybe I will tell it now that okay. But let's sing first. There's an ancient Jewish saying that says, sing before you tell the story. It is. I'm sure it's in Yiddish. Let's start on page 4. That's because I was schmoozing so much during pages 1, 2, and 3 that we got right to 4. All right, my friends, look at it, it's already, the sun has set, it's already nighttime, which means it's already Shabbat day. So we are here to receive Shabbat. The term for this service is Kabbalat Shabbat, to receive the Sabbath. And the Sabbath would happen whether we are here to receive it or not. But there's something in the act of recognizing that it's Shabbat that really helps Shabbat kind of do what it's supposed to do, which is renew our souls. So that is my blessing and prayer for all of us, that through the course of this service, entering into Shabbos, that we renew our souls, we take some deep breaths. I just heard a good one. And make sure we can access our very best selves, so that when we go out and leave this place, it's a better version of ourselves, and we can go out and make a difference in the world. So part of that is singing. Huge part of Shabbat practice is to sing. There's whole books of Zmirot, these songs that can go along with Shabbat, mostly meals, but also services. So we do start with some melodies on page 4, as I said. The first set of words, actually the first melody has no words. It's a nigun, a Hasidic practice of entering into prayer by singing a melody just with sound and breath and spirit, lai. So we'll do a little bit of that, and then we'll move into words. English first, the English translation from the Hebrew Bible, from the book of Isaiah, the prophet, and then finally, the third melody will have Hebrew words from the book of Psalms. And both the two sets of words are all about recognizing that everyone belongs. Whether you're here for the first time or you're here all the time, if you've walked through these doors, you belong here. And we're supposed to receive not just Shabbat, but we're supposed to receive each other as well. So I encourage you to take a look around and see who is here and gathering here. Some people you know and some you haven't met yet, but we are right now for the time we're here together, we are a community receiving Shabbat. And this is Leslie. Yai-la-lai, 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 yai-la-lai. Try that again. Yai-la-lai, yai-la-lai, And they shall come to my holy mountain and rejoice in my house of prayer. My house shall be a house of prayer for all peoples. My house shall be a house of prayer for all peoples. And they shall come to my holy mountain and rejoice in my house of prayer. My house shall be a house of prayer for all peoples. My house shall be a house of prayer for all peoples. And then to the book of Psalms in Hebrew, Hine Matov Umanayim, Shevet Achim Gam Yachad. How good it is, it says, and how pleasant when we, a group of brothers and sisters and siblings and friends and family, when we gather together in peace and harmony. Hine Matov Umanayim, Shevet Achim Gam Yachad. Hine Matov Umanayim, Shevet Achim Gam Yachad. Hine Matov, Shevet Achim Gam Yachad. Hine Matov, Shevet Achim Gam Yachad. Amen. So we officially begin Shabbat in this time and place through the lighting of lights, ancient tradition, not in the Torah, but still an ancient tradition of entering Shabbat through lighting candles. And I want to ask Susan Balk to come up and light candles. And I know Susan is here observing the first yahrzeit of her wonderful husband, Ken. We've been thinking about you. I've been reading his name week after week after week and service after service. And when I do that, his memory not only becomes a blessing to you, which it will always be, but to everyone that hears the name. They're connected to him, and we're connected to you. And you do such wonderful work for others in this community. And so I hope you feel our love and our support and our condolences. And it's a tender time, that first yahrzeit, that first year of all the holidays and all the moments and missing him. And the mourning doesn't stop, but it does change, we believe, in our tradition after that first year we call of the most intense mourning for our loved ones. So I thought it was appropriate for you to light the candles, not only for Shabbat, but also for Ken. May his memory be a blessing. So take your time. There's a few sets of matches. I think I would use, just saying. A refuah shlema for whoever. Those sirens are hopefully going to help. But we're in the bottom of page 4. As Susan, just stay up here. Perfect job. Feel the glow and the warmth of those candles. This is our candle lighting song, our kavanah for this ritual. And then we'll sing the blessing with Leslie. Hear our prayers we sing to you. Be gracious to the ones we love and bless them with goodness and mercy and peace. Oh, hear our prayers to you. Let us light these lights and see our way to you, and let us say Amen. Let us light these lights and see our way to you, and let us say Amen. And now with Susan, we'll kind of take that light and spread it wherever it needs to go, all the people and all the places that need extra love and extra light. But there's always enough, even after we spread that light around. So bring some of that light back into your own self, your own soul, and close your eyes if you want, and see that you have what you need. All the strength and all the courage and all the love and kindness and graciousness, all of the compassion that you need to be your best self. It's all in you. It's also all around you. And so to start Shabbat, let's sing the bracha, the blessing for this mitzvah that we have all done together by being here as the candles have been lit, signifying the beginning of Sabbath time.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher shishon b'mitzvotav, v'tzivonu l'hadlik ner shel Shabbat, v'tzivonu l'hadlik ner shel Shabbat.
Amen. Susan. Shabbat Shalom. Turn to someone next to you or behind you or in front of you and wish them a good Shabbos, a Shabbat Shalom. The cameras kind of represent all the people that are watching us on our stream. So Shabbat Shalom to everybody. You are part of our congregation. Though we can't see you, we know that you can see us, and we feel your presence. And a good Shabbos. And of course, this is the Shabbat just before Hanukkah. Hanukkah starts Sunday evening. I thought as the candles are newly lit, I'm going to read something that really speaks to me. It's something I've, for a long time with my own family, I read before we light Hanukkah candles. And it's even more poignant this year because it was written by Rabbi Arthur Waskow, of blessed memory, who just passed away just a few weeks ago. And really, he was I'm going to use the word giant in Judaism, an activist and a teacher and a scholar and a prolific author. He even has 2 books coming out that he wrote literally at the end of his life, coming out in January. And he was getting arrested for social justice causes into his 90s, imagine. Really arrested, and like kind of the videos are incredibly disturbing, the way this elderly man was treated, protesting harsh treatment of immigrants and protesting for racial justice. So I'm going to read this, even though we're not lighting Hanukkah candles, though we will light together, those of you that come Sunday night for first night, first light. And then a week from tonight will still be Hanukkah, and we'll light candles as part of Shabbat services. So this is Rabbi Waskow's Kavanah for candle lighting. And so if you'd like a copy after the service for your own home ritual, I'd be glad to provide it. When the moon turns dark and the sun turns dark, we light a growing blaze of candles, Hanukkah. When the world turns dark because a great government is threatening our freedom, our autonomy, our community, or a great corporation is threatening our jobs or poisoning our earth and air and water, or a great war is threatening our lives and shattering our hopes, we light a growing blaze of candles, Hanukkah. When our lives turn dark because we have lost someone beloved, or lost a loving relationship, or lost our sense of purpose in the world, when we have no hope of changing, we light a growing blaze of candles, Hanukkah. When our sense of hope and change darkens, we think ourselves helpless, but then as we light the candles, we remember the Maccabees and the rabbis who faced a power much greater than their own. So on each of the 8 nights, as we light the candles, we say aloud our intention, our kavanah, the commitment we are making to ourselves and each other to create light in the midst of darkness, hope in the midst of depression, and hope in the midst of despair. Amen. So I hope everybody has an enlightening and happy and delightful, try to use all the words that have light in them, festival of lights. Turn to page 6. This is a very traditional Shabbat song, Shalom Aleichem. It's the way we greet each other. It's one of the Jewish greetings, Shalom Aleichem. Aleichem is plural. So when you say Shalom Aleichem, you're not only saying shalom to one person, but to everybody, to all of you, and even beyond these walls and boundaries. And of course, we're also greeting the Sabbath. Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharet, Malachei Elyon. Mi melech malachei hamlachim hakadosh baruch hu. Boachem l'shalom malachei hashalom malachei elyon. Mi melech Malachei Hamlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Bachuni l'shalom Malachei Hashalom Malachei Elyon. Mi melech Malachei Hamlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Seichem l'shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon. Mi melech Malachei Hamlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Turn to page 11. Another kavanah before we call each other to prayer. This is something I wrote a number of years ago about these moments of calling. Call forth a moment of earth, trees and rocks and soil and mountains and sand and fields. Call forth moments of water, ocean, stream, rain, waterfall, and swimming holes. Call forth moments of air, wind, and song, and breath, and breeze. Call forth moments of fire, candles, and sun, and campfires, and lightning. Besides those elements, we can call forth values like compassion, and joy, and peace, and love for yourself, for yourselves, and for all beings, be they north, south, east, west, above, or below. Let these elemental images and these godly qualities ground us as we open our hearts to these moments that we are sharing, moments of prayer. Please rise if you're able. Page 11 is the ancient Baruch Hu, and they are sandwiched in this version by some English words that are not yet in our prayer book, but pretty easy to pick up. There's also more Lai. So, we got 3 languages we have in this setting. We have Hebrew, English, and Lai. Yada lai lai lai, yada lai lai lai, yada lai lai lai, yada lai lai lai, Yada lie, lie, lie. Yada lie, lie, lie. Yada lie, lie, lie. Yada lie, lie, lie. Am I awake? Am I prepared? Are you listening to my prayer? Can you hear my voice? Can you understand? Am I awake? Am I prepared? Yada lie, lie, lie. 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 Baruchu et Adonai HaMevorach. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach Le'olam va'ed. Le'olam va'ed. Yada lie, lie, lie. 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 Am I awake? Am I prepared? Are you listening to my prayer? Can you hear my voice? Can you understand? Am I awake? Am I prepared? Stay standing so we can move right into Shema. On page 15, just take a little time, take a deep breath, a nishima amukha, really, and fill yourself up with your spirit and the spirit of all the people that come through this sacred place. Deep breath in. When you exhale, let go of the schmutz. Let go of whatever's blocking you right now from being your very best self and from embracing this moment. All the schmutz will be back when you're ready for it or when it's ready for you, but it's nice to let it go, just even temporarily. There's a way to say the Shema. We won't do now, but I'll just explain it in case you ever want to give it a try. Of course, this comes from a few Torah portions from now, when Jacob, who was also Yisrael, was dying, and his children said, Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad, right? Listen, Israel, listen, Dad, Jacob. There's oneness. We're all connected, and even though it's very sad that you're ending your journey on this earth, you will always be part of us. And look how true that was. We still read our stories about Jacob, and we still utter these words, Yisrael. But the part that I wanted to not kind of bring out is you can insert, if you wanted to, with a friend or a partner, a congregant. You do Shema, instead of saying Yisrael, you can insert the name of a person. Like, we want them to listen to this sort of eternal truth of connectedness and oneness. So I know that there's two Eileens. It's like Shema Eileen, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. So that's just something that's available to you. Of course, when we are in community, we say Shema Yisrael. But there's other ways to these words are ours. They belong to us. They're originally in the Torah. They're still in the Torah, but we've adopted them. People say Shema all kinds of times, I have a weird habit of saying Shema before I go onto an airplane. I don't know where it came from, or no one told me to do it, but it just it works for me. Shema, my beloveds. We are all different, but there is a thread of connection that makes us one. So let's together sing Shema Yisrael. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Please be seated. We are continuing on page 16 with the words that follow the Shema in the Torah, in the book of Deuteronomy. Ve'ahavta. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha v'chol levavcha u'v'chol nafshecha u'v'chol meodecha ve'hayu hadavarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzavecha hayom al levavecha v'shinantam levanecha v'dibarta bam v'shivtecha b'veitecha uv'lektecha v'aderek uv'shokbecha uv'kumecha uv'kashartam le'ota yadecha v'hayu letotafot bein einecha uchtavtam al mizuzot beitecha uv'isharecha Leman tizkeru v'asitem et kol mitzvotai v'hitem kedoshim le'lohechem Ani Adonai Elohechem Asher hotzeti etchem me'eretz Mitzrayim lihiot lachem le'Elohim Ani Adonai Elohechem. Page 18, right? 18? Yeah. I write on my Siddur, little notes to myself, but sometimes I cover up the page number, which is so not helpful when you're leading prayer. Is it 18? Yeah, okay.
Yes.
I promise you I've covered the page number with my scribble. Such is my lot in life. Micha Mocha, one of our two blessings after the Shema. In the evening, we get in the morning and evening, we always have two blessings before the Shema in the morning, but in the evening, there's two after, when in the morning there's only one after, because they're both about redemption. Hashkivenu is not in the morning, that's what that is. They're about redemption, and maybe the notion is we need a little more redemption in the nighttime when we can't see as well. We have to really rely on our vibes over our senses if we're out. And so maybe in the ancient world it was thought we needed an extra dose of redemption in the evening. Not just on Shabbat, but for people who pray daily prayer. There's Micha Mocha and Hashkivenu in the evening, and only Micha Mocha in the morning. So just a little bit of a Jewish liturgical teaching there. But Micha Mocha is really the one that's about communal redemption. Hashkivenu is kind of more about personal redemption. So Micha Mocha is about our responsibility to those who are most vulnerable, our responsibility to those who have been marginalized. Because, of course, the prayer comes from our story when we were vulnerable, when we were marginalized, when we were oppressed, when we were enslaved, giving us the duty to then look out for and be supportive of and be allies of all those in our midst who need to know liberation and to be included when they've been excluded. And this is part of our obligation as a people. So we remind ourselves by going back to this story of the time when we had just crossed the sea, just those first moments of freedom. Try to remember what that felt like so we can help others feel the same. Micha Mocha. Kodesh, Norat Hilot, Osei Felech, Osei Felech. Yai lai lai, yai lai, yai lai lai lai, yai lai lai lai, yai lai lai, yai lai, yai Page 20. That one I can see. All right, so I kind of made a little decision while we've been together. I'm going to tell a version of that menorah story now. And if you've heard it before, just focus on the 4 chords and Leslie oohing. Like that. That's Leslie oohing. Anyway, so what I wanted to say was that Hanukkah with the eagle used to belong to Temple Israel. When Temple Israel was 5 or 6 blocks from here, on the corner of Washington and Kings Highway, or on the corner of Waterman and Kings Highway. And this was the time where all the synagogues in St. Louis were in the city limits. But they had started to move into the county, and Temple Israel made a decision to move from their, actually you can still see the words Temple Israel on the engraved top of the building. And so in 1963, the board of, and probably before that, but they moved in 1963, board decision. The rabbi at the time was someone that I think some of you will know the name really well, Ferdinand Isserman. Rabbi Isserman was the rabbi, longtime rabbi at Temple Israel, kind of a legend. He used to give 3-hour sermons, and he was actually a speaker in demand, not just in Jewish circles, but he was a kind of a well-known St. Louis figure. His grandson of blessed memory was a member of CRC for a long time, and Rick Isserman's wife, Carla, calls me every Friday from Florida to wish me a Shabbat Shalom. Anyway, so Rabbi Isserman loved being in the city. He loved the neighborhood here. He became really good friends with all the ministers of the churches in the neighborhood. And he was a little upset about the decision to move to Creve Coeur. So one of the things he wanted to do was leave a piece of Temple Israel in the neighborhood. And he decided that Hanukkah, that menorah, should stay. And there was a church across the street. The building is still there, called St. John's United Methodist Church. And Rabbi Isserman was friendly with the minister, and he brought it over to the church, and he said, we have to leave the neighborhood. I want you to have this Hanukkah so that you could leave the lights on. This is really a Susan Balk story, right? For sure. So Temple Israel had that Hanukkah for a long time, decades. And I think the ministers would bring it out on the Sunday of Hanukkah during Sunday church services and preach about Temple Israel and holy corners and that menorah and interfaith relationships. When I got here in 2000, the minister was Reverend Wally Shearburn, great guy, and he used to have me come on Sunday of Hanukkah to talk about the menorah. Well, eventually, about 10 or so years ago, St. John's had to close its doors. The Methodist denomination, I think the church was losing members, and they wanted to kind of shepherd people to other churches. And one Friday night, just like this one, I was here with Rabbi Susan, and Reverend Wally came in with that Hanukkah, with that Hanukkah menorah, and he looked at us, and he said, we have to close the doors of our church, and we would like you, CRC, to keep the lights on in the neighborhood. So that's the story. The PS of it is that the building, there's actually 2 Temple Israel buildings. They had one building that was their sanctuary and one that was where they had religious school. Did anyone ever go to, and Allen too, wow. I think that many of you know that those buildings were badly damaged in the tornado last May. And there was an article in the Jewish Light about it. They've been, just trying to figure out how to build back. I was in touch with the minister of that church that it now is in the building that used to house Temple Israel. And I guess that's kind of a Hanukkah story too, right? The temple being rededicated. So maybe one of these days we'll see that church be rededicated. Part of keeping the light on in the neighborhood. Take this soul, living in my skin and bones. Take this soul and let it sing. Yahweh, Yahweh, always pain before a child is born. Yahweh, Yahweh, it's always dark before the dawn. Hashkivenu Adonai, Eloheinu Leshalom, V'hamidenu Shoreinu Lechaim. Hashkivenu Adonai, Eloheinu Leshalom, V'hamidenu Shoreinu Lechaim. Allow us to lie and rise in peace. Allow us to lie and rise in peace. Shalom. Allow us to lie and rise in peace. Shalom. Hashkivenu Adonai, Eloheinu Leshalom, V'hamidenu Shoreinu Lechaim. Hashkivenu Adonai, Eloheinu Leshalom, V'hamidenu Shoreinu Lechaim. Take another deep breath. Nishima Amuka. And sing it for yourself and for your loved ones and for the whole world. Everything's gonna be alright. 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 Ufros aleinu sukat, sukat shlomecha. Ufros aleinu sukat shlomecha, and cover over us tonight with a sukat shalom, a shelter of peace for you, for those you love, a shelter of peace to everyone vulnerable and sad, those that are mourning, thinking of a loved one that they miss. Shelter of peace for those just looking for a place where they belong. Shelter of peace for all of us as we search for redemption, as we work for a better world. Amen. Shalom, salam, shanti, peace. We are on page 22. Yikadal v'yitkadash shemei rabba be'alma divra kirotei v'yamlich malchutei v'chayechon uvyomechon uchayedecho be'Yisrael ba'gala uvizman kari v'imeru amen Yehei shemei rabba mivorach le'olam u'me'omaya yitbarach v'yishtabach V'yitpa'ar v'yitchomam v'yitnaseh v'yithadar v'yithale v'yithalal shemei dekudesha barichu le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechemata damiran be'alma v'meru amen. We're on page 23. Please again stand if you are able. These next prayers in the Siddur, which means order, so in the order of the service. What we've decided to do over the years on Friday night is to largely use this section of the service for silent prayer. We start out together with the words of the psalm on page, or the verse of the psalm on page 23, and then do your own thing. You could use the words of the books on the pages, your own prayers in your heart, your meditations, your reflections, wherever you want to go. We give each other grace to just kind of have kind of alone time together. And then we'll all be seated and conclude this section of prayer with a prayer for peace, a prayer for shalom and for tikkun olam, for a more repaired world. So we start with this psalm, or this verse of the psalm, which I call the psalm of opening. It's got that awesome word yiftach, which comes from patach, to open, livtoch. So I think about, when I sing this verse, I think about open hearts and open minds and open souls and open arms so that we can embrace one another. Open doors so that anyone that needs to come through these doors, we're so thankful for James, for keeping us safe, just part of our family, but that allows our doors to be open. I'm going to say what the verse says, that our mouths should be open, but specifically open for kind words and gracious words and words of healing. So that's the psalm, and then we'll fall into our silent time for a few minutes, and then we'll carry on with the service. So first, the psalm of opening. Ufi tehilatecha, ay la 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 ya Adonai, ya la 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 sifatai tita, ya la 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 ufi tehilatecha, ay la 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 Adonai, ay la 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 sifatai tita. I lie, Ufiagi, Tehilate. You may be seated. Page 31. for more. More in the world, more compassion, more justice, more love, more joy, more grace, more loving kindness, more peace, more. Olam chesed yibane, yadadai, yadai, yadadai. Olam chesed yibane, yadadai, yadai, yadadai. Olam chesed yibane, yadai, yadai, yadadai. Olam chesed yibane, yadai, yadai, yadadai. I will build this world from love. Yadadai, yadai, yadadai. And you must build this world from love. Yadadai, yadai, yadadai. And if we build this world from love, yadai, yadai, yadadai, then God will build this world from love. Yadai, yadai, yadadai, yadadai. Olam chesed yibane, yadadai, yadai, yadadai, yadadai. Olam chesed yibane, yadadai, yadai, yadadai, yadadai. Olam chesed yibane, yadai, yadai, yadadai, yadadai. Olam chesed yibane, yadai, yadai, yadadai. Olam chesed yibane, yadai, yadai, yadadai. Amen. So I think hopefully all of you have a little bit of a text sheet. I promise you we're not going to go every single text in this. This is a study I've been developing, working on for a long time. One of these days I'm going to try to cast it around, maybe, whip it into an article or something like that. Because I really, it's very compelling to me, this teaching. I haven't done it for a couple of years. And I know that we're starting the story of Joseph in this Torah portion. I'll give you one great teaching about Joseph. So though, obviously Joseph is known for, at least in these years of this portion, a dream interpreter. And for worse and for better, he kind of has this gift. And the word in Hebrew for dream is chalom. The word for window in Hebrew, Becky knows this, a lot of you know this, the word for window in Hebrew is very similar. It's chalon, just a nun instead of a mem. And I just love that notion of dreams as being windows to something. It's mysterious. My mom was a psychologist, so my mom of blessed memory was a psychologist, so dreams, we weren't allowed to get away with saying, I just had this dream. We had to tell her what it was, and she tried to tell us what it meant. So I don't know, this chalom, dreams as windows. But I want to go back to Jacob and Esau. Jacob is still around as the story of Joseph kind of develops. Some people call the Joseph stories, it takes about 4 or 5 Torah portions, a novella, kind of like that, because it can stand on its own. the stories about Joseph. But Jacob's still around till the very end, but Esau disappears. He doesn't die, or the Torah doesn't say he dies, but he just stops being part of the story. But the very last part of the last Torah portion, Vayishlach, is all about Esau and Esau's lineage, right? So I want to, one more time before we turn our attention to Joseph, do a little. Jacob and Esau just are kind of a huge part of what I wrestle with. Of course, they were so this is a study of lots of different kinds of texts from the Torah, of course, but also goes all the way to the 21st century. And I'm going to skip around a little bit, and I think I'll read the text so we don't have to kind of walk around with a microphone. I normally like hearing other voices more than my own, but for this one, we'll kind of do an abbreviated version. But of course, the story from a few Torah portions back about Jacob and Esau, they were twins. But really early on, we're told they're not just twins. They're also symbolic. So here's the first passage. 2 nations are in your womb. 2 separate peoples shall issue from your body. One people shall be mightier than the other, and the older shall serve the younger. When her time to give birth was at hand, there were twins in her womb. Rebecca we're talking about. The first one emerged red. The Hebrew there is admon, but it also comes from the word adoma for earth, with a hairy mantle all over. So they named him Esau, the hairy one. Then his brother emerged holding onto the heel of Esau, so they named him Jacob, which means heel or heel grabber. So you not only have 2 individuals, 2 twins, but there's this suggestion that they're also 2 separate peoples. It doesn't say 2 people, it says peoples. And that really begins this sort of journey that I want to take you on. Who are these peoples? Well, Esau is deemed to be the exemplar or the symbol of a nation called Edom, which we get introduced to later in the Torah. Who's Jacob? Well, we know from the story that there was a wrestling match, and whether it was an angel or whether it was, some kind of version of Esau or whether it was God, this came out of that wrestling match. Said the other, "What is your name?" He replied, "Jacob." Said he, "Your name shall no longer be Jacob, but Israel, Yisrael, for you have striven with beings divine and human, and you have prevailed." So here we have Esau, who represents Edom, which was an actual nation as described in the Bible, and we have Jacob, who represents Israel, the Jewish people, not the modern nation of Israel, but the people of Israel. So we're just going to skip ahead a few texts to a time when there actually was an Edom and there was an Israel. And when that happened, those 2 nations, the Bible still talked about the namesakes. They still kind of would refer to Edom as Esau and Israel as Jacob. For example, skip down to where it says, "for the outrage." This is from the prophet Obadiah, and he's speaking, this is hundreds of years later, he's speaking about Judea, Israel, and Edom, Esau. He says, the prophet, "For the outrage to your brother Jacob," right? "Disgrace shall engulf you." He's not talking about the individual Jacob. He's talking about Israel, and he's talking about Edom being engulfed with disgrace. "When foreigners entered his gates, you were one of them. The house of Jacob shall be fire, and the house of Esau shall be straw." That's a pretty easy metaphor to kind of understand. And remember, these are brothers in the story, so these nations who hate each other also have sort of, they have an origin in 2 brothers from, the same family, and not only brothers, but they're twins. If you go up a little bit to where it says Amos, another prophet, Amos talks about Edom and Israel. He, and here the he is pertaining to Edom, the nation Edom. He pursued his brother. So he's actually using this relationship between Esau and Israel, talking about the nation of Edom pursuing who's the brother? The Jewish people, the Judeans. This is when the Israelites were marching through the desert, and when they came to Edom, Edom did not help them. They turned them away. He pursued his brother with the sword and repressed all pity. So turn the page. We get a change. Eventually, there's no more Edom. There's a kind of an interesting story about what happened to Edom. They became a vassal state to Judea. But we're going to skip ahead because even though there's no more Edom, the name Esau gets switched so that Esau represents any nation that Israel / the Jews are in confrontation, who are enemies of Israel or the Jews. So for a while, that was the early Christians, right? So if you look at the very top on the second page, Rabbi Eugene Korn, then this is real as much as it's hard to sort of internalize. Every young Jewish child learns early in traditional Torah education that Esau soneh leYaakov. Esau hates Jacob. It was during the Middle Ages in the 11th to 15th century that Yaakov, Jacob, and Esau became the popular symbols of Jews, Jacob, and Christians, Esau, in Jewish polemical literature. All right? So we go from Israel and Edom to Jews and Christians. And Christians adopt Esau, right, as sort of their I'm not going to use the word mascot, but their sort of symbol. And I'm going to read you two commentaries. One is from a Christian commentary, and one is from Jewish, and you'll kind of see what I'm talking about. The Interpreter's Bible is actually a really interesting and important commentary on the whole Bible, the Hebrew Bible, and then also the New Testament. And this is what it says about Esau and Jacob. So you can tell where it's coming from, if it favors Esau or if it favors Jacob. It says, Esau is impetuous and outgoing, moved by the impulse of the moment. Jacob is cautious and calculating. As in the earlier chapters, Esau appears the better of the two brothers. One can see men like him in every generation, impulsive, friendly men who seem to like everybody and whom it is easy for everyone to like. Perhaps it must be found in a recognition that the Old Testament writers, along with their extraordinary spiritual insights, had also the limited estimates which belonged to their racial inheritance, their environment, and their time. They, meaning the Jews, never wholly escaped the impulse to take a very human pride in Jacob's superior shrewdness and skill, and they do not seem troubled by the fact that as they portray him, he was not guileless. But now we switch to a Jewish commentator about Jacob and Esau. This is Daniel Eleazar, who wrote a book called Jacob and Esau. He says Jacob is the one who struggles with God, the one concerned with spiritual pursuits. Esau is seen as a person who struggles only with men, nature, and animals, and is consumed only by earthly pursuits. Jacob represents kindness and mercy. Esau represents self-centeredness, crudeness, and destruction. So you can see this dialectic. Also, I skipped over, in between Edom and Christianity, Esau was the symbol for Rome. And, talk about our Hanukkah story and the Hellenists. When Rome was oppositional to Judea and Jews, Esau became Rome. So there's this whole history of creating this other out of Esau. Let's skip down. Now we're jumping way ahead to kind of contemporary times. When I thought about Jacob and Esau, I started to think about the divisions in our own society. And I think I compiled this initially around the 2004 election, which was John Kerry and George W. Bush. So this is an article, the very bottom, from the New York Times about that election. And what I started to think was that in this day and age, our Jacob and Esau paradigm is Jacob represents urbanites, right? Because in the Torah, Jacob is the one who stayed at home. He was kind of a homebody. And Esau went out into the field. So Esau represents rural, people who live in rural areas. And we know, and this article will enunciate, that unfortunately there is this divide between those two groups of people. So this is from A Blue City, Amazed by a Red America. Beverly Camby talked about how disconsolate she was to realize that not only had her candidate, John Kerry, lost, but that she and her city were so out of step with the rest of the country. I'm saddened by what I feel is the obtuseness and short-sightedness of a good part of the country, the heartland. This kind of redneck, shoot-from-the-hip mentality and a very concrete interpretation of religion is prevalent in bush country, in the heartland. If the heartland feels so alienated from us, then it behooves us to wrap our arms around the heartland. We need to bring our way of life, which is honoring diversity and having compassion for peoples with different lifestyles, on a trip around the country. A little bit condescending, obviously, and that's sort of part of this, but it goes both ways. There's a couple other articles. Let's see where I want to go from here. Okay. Go to David Brooks on the, I guess, third of 4 pages, and then we'll get into Philip Roth a little bit. David Brooks wrote around the same time, I believe, maybe a few years later, the one word that the two electorates, that's rural and urban, and in my formulation, Esau and Jacob, have in common is unraveling. Of course, the two electorates tell entirely different unraveling stories. In rural America, the sources of the unraveling are the immigrants and the radicalized mobs of educated elites. Urban Americans see the unraveling coming from the rising tide of nativism, the way this administration eviscerates social norms, and the underground army of all alt-right extremists with guns. Okay? So again, this dialectic, this confrontation, this one side not understanding the other and the other not understanding the one, just like Jacob and Esau were used all these thousands of years. Really quickly, a few Philip Roth quotes. Philip Roth really writes about this dialectic in many of his novels, the late Philip Roth. In fact, in one of his books, the epigraph is from the story of Jacob and Esau. I mean, that's how much he was sort of clued into this, this dynamic. One of his books, I think many people are familiar with, was The Plot Against America, which posits an alternate history where Charles Lindbergh is elected president over Franklin Roosevelt. I think it was Roosevelt's, would have been his 3rd term, but Charles Lindbergh becomes president. And Lindbergh starts to embark on that campaign to take urbanites, and Jews was really kind of the subtext, and make them go into the country and to take the city out of them, that they needed to be more like rural America as opposed to so urban. Kind of an insidious project. Go to the very back page. So one of Philip Roth's brother in the novel, who's I think a fictionalized version of his actual brother, goes on this program, and he kind of gets enamored of this this rural life and kind of turns his back on his family, Jewish people, and Newark. So here's a couple. And of course, Philip Roth is very funny, so in a very serious novel, he has some humor. So this is Philip Roth's brother describing his life in this program that was called the Office of American Absorption, kind of suggesting that the Jews who lived in Newark weren't really Americans until they went out into the country. So he says, Mr. Mawhinney could saddle a horse, drive a tractor, operate a thresher, work a field as easily with a team of mules as with a team of oxen. He could repair tools, sharpen plow points and mowers, put up fences. By cultivating tobacco, corn, and potatoes, Mr. Mohini was able to make a living right out of the earth. And then at Sunday dinner, where the 6'3", 230-pound farmer consumed more fried chicken with cream gravy than everyone else at the table combined, eat only food that he himself had raised, and all my father could do was sell insurance. It's such a great paragraph. Okay, so there's a lot more Philip Roth in this, but you can keep it and look through it if you want. I'm kind of coming to the conclusion here. So we have these two individuals who become two polarized peoples, whether it's Jacob and Esau, or Israel and Rome, or Jews and Christians, or urban or rural. But the secret is that there are commentators who believe that Jacob and Esau were not meant to be two separate people. They were meant to be one person, sort of twins who should have been whole, and that begins to sort of tell us maybe a way out of this situation we're in that is so divisive and so much dichotomy and so much of a gap that seemingly can't be overcome. So, and as Susan Block told me when she read this before service, there's these divisions everywhere within our own Jewish community. Are these very kind of dialectic divisions. But let me just go through a couple things. So this is Rabbi Bert Vysotsky, a wonderful rabbi and commentator of Torah from the Jewish Theological Seminary. So I'm in the back page where it says the rabbis very naturally, okay? The rabbis very naturally, and the Christian fathers too, make oppositions. Jacob's over here and Esau's over there. To them, they are really opposite types. And yet, in some way, the Bible doesn't do that. He's saying the commentators drive Jacob and Esau even further apart than they are in the Torah. Torah reminds us that they are twins. God prefers genius and brute, right? Both types. Go up to Rabbi Norman Cohn, who actually was one of my teachers in rabbinical school. This is a really beautiful expression. Rabbi Cohn says at the moment he put on Esau's clothes, this is Jacob when he was tricking Esau, and the animal skins that his mother provided for him, he was not merely dressing up as his brother, right? Jacob dressed up as Esau. He was demonstrating that he really possessed the qualities that were so evident in Esau. Jacob was not only an introspective, quiet tent dweller, he was also virile and strong. It was the combination of these characteristics, the very totality of his being, that justified him receiving his father's blessing. Finally, Aviva Zornberg, a great Torah commentator who I had the pleasure and honor of studying with many years ago, she says, I am a person who is both Esau and Jacob, which reminded me of, who remembers Donnie and Marie? I'm a little bit country and I'm a little bit rock and roll, right? That Donnie and Marie kind of trading places and admitting that as different as they were, they could resonate with each other. And then the big part of this text study is President Obama, who in 2004, the same year I wrote this teaching or compiled these texts, had given a speech at the Democratic National Convention. He was just a state senator at that time. He was about to become the senator from Illinois. Hannah came from Hannah's neighborhood, right? Former neighborhood in Hyde Park. And he said something that I remember hearing and just bawling because it was so beautiful. You probably remember. The pundits like to slice and dice our country into red states and blue states. But I've got news for them. We worship an awesome God in the blue states, and we don't like federal agents poking around in our libraries in the red states. We coach Little League in the blue states, and yes, we've got gay friends in the red states. And it went on and on like that. How do we bridge the gap? I don't know if I have the answer, but the story kind of does. The story points the way to an answer. The story of Jacob and Esau, which we always think about as a story of division, and it is. They're so radically different from each other. They hate each other. Jacob tricks Esau. Esau wants to kill Jacob. But the story ends in the last Torah portion, Vayishlach, with reconciliation and reunion. And somehow it's forgotten. We think more about the separation than the union, the reunion. But I want to remind you, the end of the Jacob and Esau story goes like this, the very last text. Jacob lifted up his eyes and looked, and behold, Esau came. Now, he was scared as anything, Jacob was, that he was going to run into his brother Esau. It consumed him, and then it happened. And Jacob bowed to the ground 7 times until he came near his brother. Here, if you're reading it like a story or a novel, you're thinking Esau's going to kill him. Esau ran to meet him and embraced him and kissed him, and they wept. And Jacob said, and this is extraordinary, I have seen your face, his brother Esau, who he was scared of and who he hated and who he was so different from. I have seen your face as though I had seen the face of God. He saw the face of God in this character, his brother, who was supposed to be the very opposite of him, of these two forces that generation after generation after generation represented any oppositional nations or peoples or groups. But the end of the story, they embrace and they cry and they hug and they have a reunion. I don't know how we get there, but I know that that's supposed to be the ending. Amen. So, move on to the conclusion of the service. I want to make some announcements. Of course, we have Hanukkah coming up, so I want to make sure everyone knows what's going on for Hanukkah. There's a Shabbat service tomorrow morning if you want to come back for more, 10 o'clock. I think Rabbi Daniel and Rabbi Karen and our Shabbat band with Leslie will be leading that service. And then Sunday. Oh, one more thing about tomorrow. Even if you're not at services, try to get yourself to Trinity Church between 12 and 3. We have a Holy Ground Collaborative. Trinity Church does an amazing job of helping people in our neighborhood who are food insecure, and they really need food. The Jewish food pantry is running low on food. Every food pantry is running low on food because there's more need, unfortunately. So they're having a food drive. Canned food, boxed foods, and all you got to do is drive over to Trinity Church. It's at Washington and Euclid, just right there. And you might know some people there. There'll be CRC members and other members of the Holy Ground congregations. Just meet at your car. They'll take the stuff out of your car, and you can drive away. But it's a 12 to 3. I've got a whole bunch of food I'm bringing over to Trinity, and I hope that you'll consider doing that. And if you have any friends that like doing mitzvahs, let them know. You got 3 hours to come to the Central West End and help our neighborhood and the people in our neighborhood that need it most. So that's Saturday. Then Hanukkah. Sunday, big stuff going on. Let's see, where is it all? So I know that for sure that there is a new and prospective member. So if you are thinking about joining CRC, come a little bit early for the Hanukkah program, 4 o'clock. Our wonderful member engagement director, Amy Gage, will be there and kind of get to know each other. And if you know anyone that's thinking of joining CRC or you think might like to be part of our congregation, tell them 4 o'clock. And then at 4:30, my confirmation students will be in the library doing our confirmation thing. It's a great group of teenagers. They have planned a bake sale so that, because all we got really in there is going to be latkes, which is good. But if you want a little sweet with your, what's that word? Yes, with your savory. Are latkes savory? They are, right? I don't know. What do I know? But anyway, go ahead and they're going to be selling baked goods while people that go into the Hanukkah program, which will be at the multipurpose room, help us out. It's going to help our trip to New York. We go to New York every year, and it's getting more and more expensive to go to New York, and some of the kids really need scholarship, and we thought a good idea would be to do a good old-fashioned fundraiser, and because there's going to be lots of people coming in the building for Hanukkah, a good time to do that. And then at 5 o'clock is the big program. First night, first light. We've been doing it for a long, long time. Just a way, if you want to take Hanukkah out of your house for the first night and bring it into community. Look at Nancy Weigley's been a part of lots and lots of first night, first light. When we all light a first candle together, because the first night is when your menorah has the least amount of light. But if we have 100, 150 people bringing their first candle, that's a lot of light. We'll sing some songs, we'll have latkes, and we'll all light our Hanukkah together. Yes? First night, first light will not be streamed. So you got to come. Well, we'll talk about that later. Okay, that's fair. Yeah, you got to come here. So if you want to be part of it, but if you can't, I get it. So those are the main. So that's Hanukkah at CRC. Next Friday is a really special Shabbat. They're all special, but a special Friday night. It'll be Shir Shabbat. So a lot of circular singing with the band, and it's also volunteer recognition Shabbat. So that's a week from today, same time, 6:15. Yeah, Shir Shabbat and Hanukkah volunteer appreciation. Tuesday, December 19th at 6:15, followed by a potluck with a special dessert. So all kinds of things going on. Adult education, Tikkun Olam, social justice, get involved. Look at our website. Some of you get our e-announcements. We're continuing our winter clothing collection. There's a winter outreach program that makes sure winter clothes get to the people that need it. There's 2 barrels, I think, at least 1 barrel. Bring your winter clothes whenever you come here, used or gently used or new, and we make sure. I think we've done 3 or 4 runs already to the place that distributes the clothing. So those are the announcements I wanted to make, and I want to make sure always that we leave time in our service at the end for remembrance, for the recitation of Kaddish, so that if you are here to say Kaddish for a loved one, which I know some of you are, we can allow you to say Kaddish, and we can support you and give you our sympathy as you go through your mourning process. So if you are here and you are in your year of mourning, or this is the yard site, the anniversary of the death of a loved one, I ask that you stand if you would like, so we can recognize you and we can hear who you are remembering. So we'll start, Susan, with you. You are Ken Balk. Zikrono livracha. May his memory be a blessing. And Nancy, your mom, Zikrona livracha. May her memory be a blessing. I'm so glad I got to know her and spend time with her. And you come from good people, and you've passed that forward. So thinking about how many years now? 3 years. 3 years. Thank you. And yeah, Alan. May her memory be a blessing. And thinking about your mom too. Stan. Michael de Placido. Boy, oh boy, what a beautiful person. And he is very missed. Thank you. Sarah. That's okay. Oh, the person's name is Mary. So you said we're remembering her with you. And
my friend, a mentor, Joe.
oh, I'm so sorry. Sorry for your loss. His memory be a blessing. And right here.
For my cousin Adam Wilkerson. For 2 students who passed away this past week. Annabelle Smith and Isaac Johnson. McCarthy and one vice.
So sorry. What a tragedy. Tragedy. We all know. So we're all remembering. Your cousin this morning, an infant baby. Oh, John Tia, so sorry for your loss. You let your family know we as a community are sending love and condolences. Yeah, Leslie?
My friend Miriam Raskin.
Miriam Raskin.
And Paul Oakley's dad, William Oakley, 2 months, but his partner, Walter, of 38 years, his first yahrzeit is tomorrow. So for Walter,
Thank you.
Cindy.
Michael, names from the stream.
We're remembering Ellie Trevlu-Dubinsky, Brandy Jones, and Mike Tiernan.
Thank you. Have everyone that's able stand with our mourners. Yeah, sure, of course. For your friend, Iris. Thank you. We are a community. We are, we rejoice with each other when there's happy times, and we mourn with each other when there's sad times. So to add to the list of the people that have been named, we are remembering people as a community, including this weekend's yahrzeits. Fanny Cooper, Joe Feldman, that's Kathleen Sitzer's mom. Albert Knopf, Arthur Lander, Cindy Wallach's father. Jerry Elbaum, Herman Rubin, Milford Sofer and Morris Mayer Sofer. Florence Cohen, John Doring, that's Brent's father. Tamara's very often here with us on Friday night. Ralph Gerstenfeld, Papa Ralph, Pam Lester's father, and Ellen Amarnick's father, and Bunny Gerstenfeld's late husband. Eugene Kornblatt, Clarice Leneve, that's Kathy Davenport's mother, and Miriam Weintraub, who also was a Friday night attendee. And then our more recent losses include Gary Feldman, Sarah Surkamp, Ralph Sonnenschein, Nancy Mulder, Barbara Lynch, Otis Brombello, Michael DePlacido and Miriam Raskin, and Marilyn Weiss and Annette Harrison, and Barry Friedman and Larry Eisenberg, and Gail Emmert and Ron Fagestrom, Bradley Rowe and Alan Palmer, Steve Randall, Joseph Claude Evans, Pauline Graver, Marilyn Schlitter and Phyllis Kidder, and John Joseph Palazzolo and Ava Cooper. You'll sit right in that row, Ava, with Bill. Reverend Melissa Bennett, Sharon Hollander, also the same row. Lizzie Wolf, Phyllis Goodfriend, Benson Portnoy, and of course, Kenneth Balk, your husband of blessed memory. Also, Edward Balk and Charles Tobolowski. So for all those people that we've named and all the people that we think of when we remember our loved ones whose shoulders we stand upon, those we've loved and lost, they are still with us in our hearts and souls, but we miss their physical presence. And so we say Kaddish. That's our way as a Jewish people of remembering and keeping their memories a blessing. So on pages 41 and 42, let us say Kaddish for every single one of them. Yikadal v'yikadash shemei Rabbah, be'alma divra kirutei v'yamlich malchutei, b'chai echon u'v'yom echon, u'v'chayei dechol beit Yisrael, b'galal v'zman kari ve'imru amen. Yehei shemei Rabbah mivarach le'olam olmei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach, v'yitpa'ar v'yitchomam v'yitnaseh. V'yithadar v'yithalev v'yithalal shemei dekudesha Richu, la'min kol birchata v'shirata, tush bechata v'nechemata, da'amiran be'alama ve'imru, amen. Yehei shlam rabba min shemaya, v'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'imru, amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'al kol yoshvei tevel, ve'imru, amen.
Shalom Aleinu
Ve'al kol Yisrael ve'imru shalom, Yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh shalom, Yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael. Zikronam Nevracha, may all of their memories be an eternal blessing, and let us say amen. So I want to thank Susan Balk for providing the oneg. There's, I'm sure, plenty of food left over from earlier, and in honor of Kenneth. And if you want to stick around and kind of continue connecting to one another, having a little bit of a nosh, you're more than welcome to do so. But what we do on Friday night is we make our closing blessing in the sanctuary, and then we save Kiddush and Motzi for out in the oneg room. I'll sing you all out into the oneg room, and we'll have our juice and our challah, and then we can kind of begin the oneg Shabbat. So if you'll put your arms around one another, it's always a blessing and a joy and an honor to be with all of you, each and every one of you. Love you all, and we want to leave each other with a blessing right from the Torah, the same Torah that gave us the Shema and the story of Jacob and Esau, story of Joseph, et cetera, et cetera. This blessing became the way that we just want to make sure we leave each other with nothing but words of peace and love. So we say, Yivarechecha Adonai v'yishmerecha. May God bless you and keep you now and always. Ya'er Adonai panav elecha v'chuneka. May God's light shine down upon you and always be kind and loving and warm and gracious to you. Yisa Adonai panav elecha v'yasem lecha shalom. Shalom, wholeness. May we know that blessing. May we know peace and wholeness in our hearts, in our homes, in our communities, where our children go to school, let there be peace. Where we work, in our country, both rural and urban areas, and God willing soon, may there be more peace, more shalom, more tikkun, more joy in the whole world as we say amen, and Shabbat shalom, everybody, Shabbat shalom. True. Halai, la, 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 la.